Hi, I'm Joe, and this is my white whale. But you're not here to see this. You're here to see this. The one set from the Mega Bloks Star Trek 50th Anniversary series that I didn't have and I thought I would never have, but I finally got it, the Star Trek Original Series Bridge. In 2016, Mega Bloks released 6 Star Trek sets to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the franchise, and I had 5 of them. The large Starship Enterprise, the Klingon D7, the engineering section, the Guardian of Forever, and the transporter room. But this bridge set had been so hard to find or so grotesquely expensive, I had just accepted I was never going to get it, but I didn't feel like I could call myself a true Star Trek building set collector if I didn't have it. And now I do, and I'm here to show it off today. And speaking of today, this video is set to publish on September 8th, 2025, which would be the 59-year anniversary of the first airing of a Star Trek episode. That episode was The Man Trap. The episode depicted in this set is actually called The Changeling, which was the 3rd episode of Season 2 of the original series. What I find interesting about that is that Mega Bloks had created 3 other sets that all depicted scenes from specific episodes. But the box on this one does not actually show a specific episode anywhere on it. And even if you look closely, you can just see the 4 figures. But you can tell from the back, if you look real close, you can see right here, you've got Nomad, who was the featured character or space probe from the episode The Changeling. At the beginning of the episode The Changeling, the Enterprise encounters Nomad, which at the time of the encounter was an extremely powerful small spaceship. But the Enterprise beams it aboard and finds it was actually an Earth probe sent many years earlier, and it was just designed to explore the galaxy. They found out that it had had its programming crossed up with another probe it had an accident with, and instead of just searching for life forms in the galaxy, it was searching for perfect life forms, and if it found anything it deemed to be imperfect, it destroyed it. At first, Kirk was able to control it, but it eventually started floating around the Enterprise. It wanted to learn more about Lieutenant Uhura, and it scanned her mind, but in the process actually erased her mind. And then it straight up murdered Scotty, but thanks to its advanced skill, it was able to bring Scotty back to life, while Uhura was able to regain her lifetime of education by the next episode. Then Kirk did what he always did with a misbehaving computer. He talked it to death. Although there are times when Kirk takes a more efficient approach. Getting back to the set, we'll talk about the build a little bit. There are 594 pieces, and there were lots of bags. No numbers on the bags in this set, but that's consistent with the other Star Trek sets from that series. The printed parts were all bagged separate to help protect the prints on them, which is nice. There were no animals harmed in this build, but it was close. There are definitely some unique parts that are unique to Mega, like the larger step brick or the slope with studs on it, and the 4x4 triangle tile. And one thing I found interesting about this step brick, or whatever it's called, is that it's hollow on one side, which would allow for some rather creative attachment if the set wanted to do that, which it didn't. It just used it vertically like you would expect. And this set has a lot of similarities with the transporter room in that you build different sections and they're just held together by clips. You start off building the center section, which is the back portion, the captain's chair, and the helmsman and navigation station. And then you build the science station to one side, you build the turbolift doors and turbolift area to the other, and then the engineering station off to the side. And this set actually has a pretty big footprint for only being 594 pieces, but a lot of that is because it has large pieces and very specialized pieces. Like each panel here in the back is just a single piece. And a lot of these other tall pieces, like the corners, the big tiles here on top, those are also all just single pieces. But it definitely conveys the look of the Enterprise bridge, which was just kind of a circle. You had a red or dark orange railing that went all the way around. And we've got pretty much all the main stations that you would see in the TV show. You've got Spock off to the side here on the science station, Uhura directly behind running communications. You have the turbo lift door. And if we look closer here, we actually have the Nomad build, which was not shown on the front of the box, but it is shown on the back. And then you have the engineering station. And it's assumed that there's more stations around the side of the bridge, but this, I think, adequately represents the visible area of the bridge. Looking around at each station, the printing is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. There are a few brick-built items, like I don't know what this cone is, but you can see kind of a speaker there. The prints are not identical all the way around. I mean, in the show you had these screens. There were supposed to be screens all around the top, but they just looked like pictures in the 1960s. Here at Uhura Station, you've got some very similar looking prints to Spock Station. Here at the turbo lift, you've got kind of the status symbols there for the Enterprise, and if we look real close, we've got a print showing kind of the dedication plaque here, and the red alert light. That kind of would have been nice to be brick built if it could have been possible, but I'll take what I can get. The turbo lift doors here actually open. There's a mechanism at the top. Well, it's not really a mechanism. You just kind of press on them and slide them, which is probably not that different than what they did on the TV show. It's not terribly smooth, though. I don't think this was engineered to a very fine detail, so there's a lot of friction, or at least it's hard for me to do it one-handed, and it doesn't close all the way unless I go in the back. And here we have the engineering station, which is another set of prints. I think that the print here is the same as Uhura's, but different from Spock's, just slightly. And that's usually where Scotty would sit if he was on the bridge. And then we have the captain's chair. I don't think it swivels like it did on the show, but you can see we've got these printed tiles on the side that are the panels that the captain has available to him. And then we have the helm and navigation station, which is again a whole bunch more prints. An interesting trans red piece here that's like a little bread loaf. Never seen that in trans red before, but that works for the little warning light. And really about the only thing else I could ask for is if it had a view screen of some kind, but really for a bridge diorama, I think this works pretty well. One of the specialized parts I want to show is the seats here. The seats here are custom molds. They're not brick built or anything, but they did have a hole in them, and then you actually put a piece here at the top, and that's actually what holds the minifigures in place, because these Mega Bloks figures actually all have a hole in the back. And the way the seat is designed is so that you can pop that there, and that's how he'll actually sit in the chair. We'll start here with Nomad, which is just a custom build here with a bunch of 1x1 pieces, with the centerpiece being the 1x1 brick here in the middle, which has a print on the side of it showing the colors of Nomad's lights. And at the top, it might look like there's something there on the side of the cone, but I think that's just an injection mark, because I've seen them on other cones in this Mega Bloks set. And to make it look like it's floating above the ground, it's got a clear 1x2 jumper plate with a short rod underneath to hold it up. The rest of the figures are actual figures, and they come with these gold discs here that you can stand them on if you just wanted to pose them as figures. And just like all of these 50th anniversary sets, the figures are unique. Some of the characters are repeated, but the outfits are all different. So this, of course, is Captain Kirk, and he is wearing the green wraparound tunic, as it was called. I don't know if he actually wore that in the episode, but it definitely came to a V on the front, and the Delta shield is sideways there. He's got the 2.5 stripes on the sleeve to indicate he's the captain, and I have him holding the communicator accessory. Next we have Spock. This is the only set that has Spock in just the standard blue uniform. He appears in 2 other sets. He's in the Transporter Room set as the Mirror Universe version of himself, and he's part of the large Enterprise wearing his dress uniform. But here he's just on the bridge doing his regular duties. He has commander stripes on his sleeve, and he's holding a tricorder. And this is Uhura, the ship's communications officer. She is in a red uniform. which didn't seem to have the same effect on her as it did on other members of the Enterprise crew. And she has lieutenant stripe on her sleeve. She has earrings. She has a skirt as part of her outfit. And I actually got 2 of the Uhura figure. Not sure why, or if something was wrong with one of them, but I have an extra. And for Uhura, I decided to let her have a phaser. And this is the only set that Uhura appears in. Uhura does have a slight mistake here on her red uniform, in that the Delta shield should not have the 5-pointed star on the inside. Because she wore a red shirt, she was part of the operations division, which means that she should have kind of a spiral symbol indicating that division. For the sake of comparison, here's the Scotty minifigure, and he does have the correct symbol on his uniform. And guess who just figured out what the mistake was on the Uhura figure? And yep, that is what the second Uhura was for. It has the corrected symbol on the uniform. And then finally, I have Sulu in the gold uniform, also a lieutenant, so he's got the single stripe on his sleeve. And I haven't pointed this out before, but in case you haven't seen these Mega Bloks figures, they are definitely very different than other companies' minifigures in that they have bendable elbows and knees, and they turn at the waist a little bit. And even the head bobs side to side. And sometimes I have to be careful that he's not like looking at the ground when he should be looking at the helm display. But Sulu here is also carrying a phaser. Now that I've put all of the main cast minifigures into the bridge scene, I really feel like the collection is complete, because not only did I want all 6 sets, I wanted all of the main 7 cast members. And you've got Chekhov and Sulu and Kirk and Spock, Uhura. McCoy doesn't have a seat, so he can just stand there and argue with Spock and tell Captain Kirk all the things that he's not other than a doctor. And you have Scotty at the engineering station off to the side here when he was on the bridge. And I really like having this as a display piece because I think it perfectly combines my love of Star Trek with my love of building with bricks. Thank you for watching my video about this white whale set. And by the way, if you're actually interested in the white whale, it was a rebrickable model, Mach 147996 by Tomic, which is actually the same rebrickable designer as the one that designed the Formula One car that was made from the roller skate set. This model is made entirely from the White Bunny set from a couple of years ago. I have only one more Star Trek set to show you, and I'll be doing that by the end of the month, I promise. I thank you if you've stuck around through all these Star Trek videos so far. I've really enjoyed showing them off and just talking about the show. And I hope you'll come back for the last one. But until then, remember, today is a good day to build.